we had celebrating our first democratic election. We are made from the Nkosi Sikeleli Africa. We proudly sang when we hosted the Soccer World Cup in 2010. We are made from the pride we experienced winning the Rugby World Cup for the third time in 2019. We are made from that combination of confidence, brains and determination when Zozibini Tunzi became the third South African beauty to win the Miss Universe title in 2019. We are made from that orange onion sack we used for exfoliation and the strong cloth of Ubuntu that we carry with us everywhere we go. No matter where you are in the world, it is South Africa that makes you who you are. Sign up to globalsouthafricans.com today and connect, because it is South Africans who know South Africa best.
The same argument we had said. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for everyone joining us this very morning. We're blessed to have each and every one of us on. While we're still waiting for others to join, we're going to kickstart everything. But first and foremost, colleagues, friends, and sisters, and partners and collaborators, I say thank you for joining us this very day. My name is Debo Folonshaw, and I'm the Executive Director for Society for Africans in Diaspora. And I want to welcome you all again to the third installment of Women in Workplace Summit on how we can advance women leadership and also just finding a way to give women voice and just be able to advance them in whatever industry or whatever parastatals that they are in. So today I welcome you all in every language possible. And my first order of the day is just to tell you that the summit is going to be an hour long. Hopefully we can stay on track. We need everyone to be able to participate in this very important conversation about African women in workplace and how to advance them in regards to leadership position. So thank you. My second agenda is also to thank our sponsors, Brand South Africa. And thank you, Muduwanzi Baloyi, Executive Director for Brand South Africa, and also for all the speakers, the moderators, and not only you've agreed to share your wisdom and experience and expertise and knowledge with us today. I say thank you for your effort in fighting for women and girls globally, for equality, for diversity, for inclusion. So thank you all for each and every one of the panelists and the speaker today. And, I just want to give a clear expectation to the viewers. The summit is being organized in the following order. The first order is going to be, our sponsor, Muduwanzi Baloyi, to give us an opening speech. After the opening speech is going to be followed by a video clip. After the video clip, then Madam Madala Cooper will give us a keynote address, 5 minutes keynote, and set us off in this very important conversation. Then after that, all our panelists will join in having a conversation with the moderator, Lolade Shiambola. So this very topic is a strategic pillar in regards to how we can build the continent and how we can drive women and girls and that's all what this is all about. Women are already working. I mean, they're already doing great. They're already doing what they need to do. But all that we want to see in this world, apart from everything, is just to find a way to put them on the driver's seat, to put them at the top of the ladder. There's a statistics that I was reading, earlier on this month that says women outnumber men in college here in the US, and also in Africa as well. Wherever, women are always outnumbered men in college, and the account of undergraduate women are 55%, which tend to be higher than men. And yet in 2022, women still account for 7% of leadership position in Fortune 500. I was having a conversation with Madam Magdala yesterday, and we're talking about out of 91 presidents in the world, three are only women. Three, and that is a number that we don't agree with. We need to push the boundary. Maybe we might not achieve it in our own generation, but how do we say in 50 years we want to see 50 women in 50% of women are leading Fortune 500. 50% of women are heading the highest position in top ranking nations and all that. We saw all what's going on in the U.S. with the Supreme Judge hearing, and all that we want to do to find a way to give women their voice, and just please, this opportunity, it allow us to come together and just find a way to talk about this issue. And this is a 5-year program that we're going to lean on. This is the third one, and right from now on, in 5 years' time, we're still going to be talking about this. So we're putting all the resources together. To somebody's online as well, who I wouldn't want to mention her name. She's she's going to give us a report on how we're going about this. Within 5 years, what do we want to see? So this is not just a talk shop, but hopefully something tangible, action plan, and all that can come after this. So thank you all. Farai, thank you, Ololade, thank you, Magdala, thank you, Busi, thank you, Juliet, thank you, Lordis, for all you're doing, and thank you all. I will pass on the conversation to the Executive Director for Brand South Africa, Muduanzi Baloyi.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. Rather, good afternoon from where I'm sitting, and good evening to those that are logging in from other parts of the world where the clock has since advanced to evening. I hope you are all well. My name, as introduced, indeed, I'm Dungwazi Baloyi, who's Brand Country Head for the US. And indeed, it is my pleasure to add my voice to welcome one and all to today's virtual dialogue, which is actually, to me, it's about celebrating Black excellence. A little bit about the Brand South Africa. As a country, South Africa, our vision is to be that nation that our people and the world will draw inspiration from. Inspiration to find new paths, inspiration to find new solutions, new possibilities, new experiences, new ideas, and the will to make it happen. It is with this vision in mind that actually Brand South Africa was established to help create a positive and compelling brand image for South Africa and the building of the reputation of the country. Our overall mandate, indeed, is to build South Africa's nation brand reputation that will contribute to South Africa's global competitiveness and will also inspire and instill active citizenship among South Africans and friends of South Africa at home and abroad. Today, we are going to explore systemic as well as cultural considerations that seem to inhibit or support progress. Practices that have supported Black women and women of color in their careers. We hope to learn from some of the best in this industry as they share their journeys thus far with us. I know that webinars have become very common these days, but I really think this one is special, as the conversation will feature some of the most inspirational Black women speaking about their identities, their experiences, and images as Black women in the workplaces. We've put together a very formidable panel that will help, with the help of the moderator, to distill their knowledge and experiences. And we have, in this instance, Lolade, who's our capable moderator. And I think all you need to do is just to make you, sit up, think and figure out a way to play your part in ensuring advancement of Black women and women of color in our society. So I'll encourage each and every one of us to, at this moment, to disconnect from everything that we are doing in the next 1 hour and some change, and get ready to also send our questions. Let me also thank Said for their partnership with Brand South Africa, the support and thought leadership on issues impacting the African diaspora in co-hosting this event with us today. So indeed, we feel very honored to also have an amazing powerhouse change maker who has mastered a craft and uses these different platforms in her life to serve others as a pathfinder community builder. That is Madala Cooper, who's going to also give us a keynote address in this instance. Following her, of course, as illustrated, will be this panel of capable, illustrious women that we have put together, who have agreed to allow us to dig into their talent, their business acumen, and leadership DNA, and has defied many odds in their own right in a male-dominated society to demonstrate that young people and women and minorities, for that matter, are not tomorrow's leaders, but they are leaders of today. So, ladies and gentlemen, with all protocol observed, we welcome you. Thank you very much.
Wouldn't you like to explore a country where two worlds intersect, where first world infrastructure meets an emerging market, where science and technology enjoy rapid advancement, a land where innovation creates a dynamic environment for growth, where a market of almost 60 million people provide you with the perfect springboard to access a continent of 1.3 billion people? Welcome to the future. Invest in South Africa.
Hello, Mac.
Okay, I think I can hear you now.
Hello, Madala Cooper.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can all hear you, madam.
Very good. Well, let me first take this opportunity to thank the sponsors, including my dearest brother who just spoke about from Brand South Africa. Thank you so much for sponsoring this organized event. And to Debo, I would like to thank you for including me. Also to the moderators and my fellow panelists. I will ask for permission to stand on already existing protocols for the sake of time. But it's an honor and a privilege to be here today with you. And as we talk about women in the workplace, it's a conversation that is well overdue. And I'm glad that Debo has taken on the mantle of authority to create a space where we can talk about women, women's role in decision making. And that's one of the areas I saw has needing more work, needing more women to be a part of. As you all may know, I'm a politician. I'm a philanthropist and an activist. And my activism work helps me to, I guess, gives me a sort of space and a platform to advocate to see more women involvement, whether it's in corporate. I know I serve at some capacity in my life. I serve as the ambassador for Impact 21, which is an organization that pushed, large corporations, Fortune 500 corporations, to include women in the C-suite, etc. And I later on went on to um, create and build. I think if I not wrong, I'm the first woman on the continent of Africa to have established a political party giving women a platform to run for office without discrimination. And as a philanthropist, I've built schools and tried to provide educational opportunities for the girl child who have been omitted from the education structure of most countries on the continent, um, and also granting women the opportunity to have access to microloans for small enterprises, because as we know, and my dearest brother had mentioned, that women are the backbones of our society, and so it's relevant to make sure women are at this decision-making table when it comes to governance and corporations, and even in society as a whole. I don't want to take up too much time, but I really would like to encourage, women in general, to seize every opportunity that we have access to, and make sure when we're in those positions of authority, when we're in those positions of leadership, we have got to pull the next generation on board with us. And of course, this is something that's not only the responsibility of women, but is also the responsibility of our brothers as well. Because I like to take the conversation to a different level and really focus on the discriminations that Blacks in general across the world, whether it's at home on the continent or in the diaspora, Blacks have been left out of major decision making across the world. And when you talk about the United States, for example, where we all are, most of us are at this very moment, from the constitutions, when the United States Constitution was written, the likes of minority women and men were not considered when the U.S. Constitution was written. Over the years, we've seen amendments and referendums that has taken place, and we've seen the attempt to include minorities, especially Black men, in some areas of decision making. And I want Black men to be conscious of the fact that living in the diaspora, in the Western world, when you have old white men sitting at decision making tables and excluding, not even having a seat for a Black man to be a part of decisions that will affect him and his family. Imagine on the African continent when you have governments, leadership, institutions are now having power of authority to create a table where decisions are going to be made. And African women, Black women in general, are being omitted from being part of that process. I know Black men would not want to be excluded when global decisions are being made. And I don't think any leader on the African continent should omit Black women from being part of the decision making. And that also goes into the corporation, not just leadership in government, in a sense of government, but also in corporations and entities. And so I think, like I said early on, it's not just a decision of a woman to bring the next generation of women, but we also have to work together with our men. And so that as fathers, like Debo, for example, who are raising three daughters, are making decisions in his home, he includes his wife and his children. And I know I'm getting a bit personal with this, but I am getting somewhere with it. It is very important that Blacks across the world, especially those of us who are oftentimes the token Black person in any corporation, we have to be conscious to know that it is never, and it should never be a desire of ours to be the token Black person in the room without pulling another minority in the room with them. When we are in leadership, we should be conscious enough to know that when we're in a position of authority making or creating a table and putting seats around the table to make decisions, whether it's around economy, what is around healthcare, what is around financial institutions, we have to make sure we are all represented: the elders, the men, the women, and the youth. Inclusion is extremely important for the future of Africa. We no longer, like the Western world, had old white men making decisions for everyone. We don't want to reinvent the wheels, but yet still we don't want to repeat the mistakes of the major countries like the United States, like Europe, where they ran their institutions without the inclusion of women and young people. We as Africans, we have to think differently. We have to think out of the box. And as Africa is progressing into the future to be included in a global conversation, we have got to think differently like Africans and make sure when we are making decisions or when decisions are being made, we bring everyone to the decision making table. That which includes, again, I will repeat, our elders, because as a 45-year-old woman, I would never fully understand what an 85-year-old man or woman needs. So it would take me being conscious to include the elders at the decision-making table. Just as much as I'm a 45-year-old woman, I would never fully understand what a 45-year-old Black man needs. It is important to be conscious enough to include a 45-year-old Black man at the decision-making table. So I am not alone thinking that I know what he may need. It is important as well to include women at the decision-making table so a woman's voice can be included when decisions are being made nationally. And likely, it is also very important that the young people, the young men and the young women, speak on behalf of their demographic. This is not the time for us to go back and repeat the mistakes of the past, because it's a wise man once said, a wise man or a wise woman once said, that if we do not learn from the mistakes of the past, we're doomed to repeat those mistakes. And that is such a true statement. So as this conference opens up, let's keep in mind that this is not just about women having power and excluding Black men. It is about Africans and African leadership, whether it's corporate leadership, it's social leadership, or if it's national governance. We have got to be conscious of the fact that we don't want to take the Western models and the mistakes the Western countries made, but Africa has to be innovative in an African sense with African traditions, and know that our history have always included women at the decision-making table. Because even today, when a town chief is making a decision, a town chief goes to his wife and they make decisions together, and the town chief goes and relay the information to the rest of the dwellers of the town. And so as we, the new generation of Africa, move Africa forward, it is very important, it is extremely critical that we think on those lines. And so to Debo and to our sponsors, to our moderators, to our fellow panelists, to my dearest sister, I see her on the screen here, Busi Masiko Adan. I want all of us, and to the viewers, let's start thinking like Africans. Let's stop pretending we're Westerners. An African man, make sure he includes his African sister in whatever decision that's being made. So all of those westernized ideas where a woman sits in the back and a man sits in the front, those are Western ideas. That's not African. And let's not try to take the horrible parts of the Western world to bring it. Let's copy the best practices of the West and bring it to Africa. Because I get sick and tired as a female politician of people in Africa telling me that a woman's place is in the home. No, that is not an African. Go back into our history. Go back into our history and see the women of Africa who are part of the revolution, who are part of the liberation, who was part and still today are carrying Africa. So as we migrate to the West, let's not leave our traditions behind, because any Black person who pretend they don't have a tradition, they're just doomed for failure. And I know that is a bit of an aggressive thing to say, but sometimes the truth needs to be said and let it hurt a little bit so that we can change our minds and change our ways and behaviors. And as this conference open up, I hope we'll have a fruitful conversation around these topics and more, because women in the workplace should be respected, should be included. When women are represented, women will have the respect they deserve, And once we have the respect we reserve, we will have access to the resources that is rightfully ours. And so women in the workplace are experiencing the Western models of leaving women behind, exclusion of women, let women be in their homes. That's not the African way. And so when we're in the Western world, let's bring our tradition to the table. Let's ask our corporation, look, if you have no intention on having me in this corporation and for me to grow, let me know. I will work, earn my money, and go back to my own continent and build my opportunities there. And so I will yield here and turn the microphone back to our moderator, our host. And I want to thank you very much for including me. There's so much more I want to say as a politician, a female in politics. Sometimes I ran in not sometimes, but I ran in 2017. And I was the only woman on the stage when there was political debates or conversations being held. And I wasn't very happy about that. But my standing up to run for the highest office in the nation inspired other young women across the continent. I was in Uganda, in Kampala, standing at a hotel waiting for my protocol team to come and pick me up. And a young woman got out of the car and she gave me the biggest hug. And I thought, do I know you? She says, no, Madam Cooper, you may not know me, but because you ran, I ran as well. And today the government is after me and threatening my life. But I'm happy I ran and you inspire me. So I want to make sure and see that more Black women are establishing corporations, are establishing political parties, and bringing more Black women on board. And that's how we'll break through this glass ceiling. So may God bless all of you. I look forward to a fruitful conversation here today.
Thank you, Madam Madala Cooper. What an amazing keynote and entry into this conversation on women in the workplace. You are so inspiring. And all of our panelists today are incredibly inspiring. You're all just breaking barriers and building the new roads. I'm honored to be here with you, leading this conversation. My name is Olori Lowade Shamola. I'm the founder of Noir Labs, where we are building Portal X, a gamified social ed tech platform that is building the new world, centering Blackness and liberating all of us from within. It's an honor to be, amongst the women who are visionaries and who are leaders in building the new world. We believe at Noir Labs is that the new world is being built by world makers like the women on this panel today. I'm also doing my PhD in sociology and world making through cultural production at Cambridge University. And through that work, I get to look at people like the women we have today who are forging the new world, forging new paths just by being themselves, just by being visionary, just by being leaders. So I'm really excited for us to really dig into this conversation about, we're calling it women in the workplace. I love what Debo said about, 50 years to 50%. It's really shameful, the minuscule numbers that we have of women in political office, in the CEO, office, and as board chairs. And it really just goes to show, like Madala spoke about, that we have all fully adopted a Western way of being. Traditionally on the continent of Africa, women led, and women have always led, and women must always lead. We are the nurturers of the home, and so much research has shown that when you invest in a woman, you're really investing in a community, you're investing in a nation, you're investing in the next generation. So putting women first is not just in the best interest of the women, it's in the best interest of all the societies that we represent. So I want to start off by really allowing all of our panelists to share a bit about your journeys and how you came to recognize the critical need for your leadership role as a woman, as a female, how you came to be inspired to know that, I must do things differently. A lot of us have been the only woman in many rooms. And in spite of that, we have forged our way forward. I'd love for you guys to just touch a bit about, maybe from your youth, your early days when you decided, like, you know what, I know that I'm the only woman who is going to, be part of this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Please, let's start with you, Madala.
Wow, that's a tough one. The privilege I've had in my life was I was born amongst 5 brothers, and my mother got remarried and brought 2 more boys into the household. So I practically was a tomboy, doing everything my brothers were doing. When they play sports, I play sports and I challenge them, and on and on and on. And so growing up with that mentality, that was no different from a boy child, with the exception I was a female and I was okay with that. But in terms of innovation, sports, and just general practice in life, whatever a boy could do, I could do. As a Nike ad says, I could do better, if not equal. And so growing up, I went to play sports in college. I went to play sports in high school and college, and then went to the corporate world. I saw no difference between a boy child and myself, or what my male counterparts could do and what I could do. And so I've always stood my grounds. I've always had my voice. I've always had, knowing one thing for sure, that I needed my own resources in order to be taken seriously at a decision-making table. Because that's one thing that prevents and hinders a lot of us from being taken seriously. We don't have the resources, but we want to make decisions. And that's always a difficult challenge. And my days spent on Wall Street, of course, the guys on Wall Street, has many of you beautiful women on this screen here today. You have these young men who will challenge you by saying inappropriate things to you, and seeing how they can move you by emotion, or move you by insulting your emotions or your intelligence, but having a quick comeback. Whenever they said something that was not appropriate, I said something that was not appropriate, to make sure they understood that you're not going to tamper with my emotions here, because that's how they view a lot of us. That if we can destroy her emotionally, maybe then we can take her out. And so going on into philanthropy, I came into philanthropy with resources. I built my own foundation. I sponsored children's education. Then I started raising funds. And my colleagues who I asked to donate to my charity knew I had my own resources. So that's a key point, having your own resources in order to be taken seriously at the decision-making table. And when it was time, when I went into philanthropy, I did well, building a school, educating young women, giving women resources. And then I progressed and moved on to policies, which to enter politics, you need money. So again, having my own resources and going to my colleagues and saying, can you add to what I already have? And so how did I stand my grounds is to make sure I put my mouth where I was also willing to put my money. And so no one ever questioned, can she do this? Is she just bluffing? Is she just saying this? And after I ran on 2 political party tickets, and the boys in the party tried to destroy me, I quickly went to the drawing table and said, you know what? There is no political party that respects a woman. So I'm going to be that first woman in the Republic of Liberia that was established my very own political party. And I did that. And everyone was so surprised. Wow. And there are so many brilliant women, and kudos to them. But why haven't a woman thought about building a political party when in a country where women are having a hard time getting nominations on a major political party ticket, or just on a political party ticket? Right. So back to your question, the trend in having a voice was supported by having my own resources. So I wasn't going to a man to beg him to give me a voice, but I had my own money in the bank. And with a big voice like mine, I was unstoppable. And I still remain unstoppable today. And I'm going to stick with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madam Madala. Please, Farai, can you jump in here and share with us, maybe a turning point, early inspiration that forced you forward as a female leader?
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you, Madam Madala Cooper, and I'm so excited for your run. It's very inspiring to see women step up and really raise their hands to say, you know what, the call for leadership is on me. And so it's really wonderful to hear you speak and to hear about your journey. For me, I think, as someone born in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, to a South African mother and to a Zimbabwean father. And I was the firstborn girl child. I have a younger sister. And I think having a mother like my mom, who was such a powerful force in my life, she was very, very involved in the bringing up my sister and I. And I think she had a very strong vision for my sister and I, and she was very influential very involved and very influential from a very early age. I mean, she put us through a private school for girls in Zimbabwe because she understood that education was an equalizer, but it was something that would enable us to go far beyond what she had experienced. And so she used education as a tool. And she often instilled in my sister and I that education is going to be the way out for you, and it's going to be a powerful platform for you in achieving your goals and your dreams. And I think even with that having that foundation at home was clearly very, very needed for me to excel in school. So at the schools, my teachers, and they were female teachers, and they were Catholic nuns, who identified very early on and who challenged me and gave me additional resources, whether it was remedial lessons in either math or whatever class it was, for me to excel even further. So I've always had a very strong female presence early on. And I think this was because my mother was also very intentional about ensuring that if she couldn't meet a need, she made sure that she would identify resources outside of the home, and in particular in school, in the primary education that my sister and I received. So I think having that foundation where I felt really nurtured, where I felt seen, and where I felt heard from a very young age as an African girl child in Zimbabwe, I think has really helped me as I've navigated through life. So it wasn't a surprise to my mom when in high school I decided that I wanted to pursue my tertiary education in the United States. It wasn't a surprise to her because this is something that she had been planting and nurturing and working on with my sister and I. And so for me, a defining moment is deciding to go to the United States for my tertiary education, because I felt like I would then flourish. I felt I needed to go into an environment where I could fully express what was inside of me. And for me, it was the U.S. And so full scholarships, really great institutions that I was able to attend, with the most recent being Harvard University, where I got my master's in public administration. But really having a mother and grandparents who were very, very powerful in my life from a very early age. Having school teachers either being placed as the head girl or deputy head girl of our school, and having those leadership qualities being nurtured from an early age, and being able to see myself as a leader from a very early age as well, and saying that you know what, we are allowing you to practice leadership, because I believe that leadership is also something that we carry it, but it also has to be nurtured. It has to be practice it, and then you have to be courageous in taking certain positions. And so today I sit on a company that's going through an IPO as the chief financial officer. And really, to put things in perspective for you, when you look at the United States currently, we only have 2 Black female CEOs, Rosalind Brewer of Walgreens, and then Tasunda Duckett of TIAA. And then we have about 2.9% in overall of Black CFOs. Currently, there's about 678 across Fortune 500 and S&P 500 companies. And out of the 678 sitting CFOs, 2.9. And that's a really low number, given the fact that I think early on we have Black women, Black men are outpacing a lot of the other races in tertiary education. We're showing up at universities, we're showing up postgraduate institutions, attaining our master's degree, and in often cases, second master's or PhD. So the education is there. The skill set is there, but now we are demanding for opportunities to say, we want to go further up. We're able to lead great companies. I mean, when you think about Fortune 500 companies in the United States, they generate about $13.8 trillion, about 2/3 of the US economy. So that's pretty significant here in the US. And the skill set to be able to do so comes from being given opportunities to lead, and to lead institutions where you're managing a significant P&L, and you have a balance sheet of a significant size. So I think for me, coming back to you, having those women that have been woven in along my path, whether it was childhood at home leading up to where I am now. And it took a Black man actually on the board of my company to actually advocate for me and to champion me for this role that I currently hold.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. I want to call on you now, Busi, as the founder and CEO of Pont Global, where you lead and support women in their careers. Can you speak a bit to your, sort of early impetus, as well as people who may have inspired you and, championed you and helped you to get to where you are today? We can't hear you, Busi. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Lolade. It's an honor to be with amazing women, great leaders. And for me, it has been a twofold situation. I've had a number of scenarios that have driven me to where I am today, both adversity as well as a rejection. And diving from that, I also went into my history, understanding my past and depending on that past. But however, I must go back to my history. And I've always been, my parents, my mom is South African, my dad is Ugandan. Both were activists. My dad fled Idi Amin's regime, and my mom was involved in apartheid. They met in Botswana. And my dad, then they moved to Zambia, and my dad he was an attorney there, and he helped a lot of the South African exiles in in Zambia as well. And I've heard all those stories. But going back, my grandfather was was orphaned at 12 years old, and his father died when he was in utero. So, but he was self-made, and he married someone who was from a prominent family as well. And but he was also from a warrior tribe, and his family was like kingmakers. So I went back into that resilience whenever I remind myself of who I am. And from my family on my paternal side, my grandmother was one of the first 5 women to graduate. My grandmother's sister was one of the first 5 women to graduate from Makerere University, and the first headmistress of a high school black headmistress of a high school in Uganda. And on my maternal side, my grandfather was very involved in apartheid. My grandmother was one of the people who went with the Winnie Mandelas to after the Rivonia, during the Rivonia trials, to fight. I mean, to active and they went there all the time, and that reminded me of who I am. And my aunt was one of the organizers of the Beijing Conference for Women. So I'm from a line of strong women. However, I also didn't want to be in the shadows of these women. And I found it, and also my dad, everyone would say, are you like as brilliant as your dad? Are you as this as your dad? I figured, you know what, let me figure out my path. And it was somehow entrepreneurial, Fashion Indie, which was one of the first fashion technology and companies, which was twice acquired. But I come from a Wall Street background, and I felt I needed support indie designers. I hadn't got support from diasporans at the time, so I went mainstream and I tapped into the hipster crowd, which embraced me. And then after that, I gave back to my community. I've always been about diaspora or the countries I'm from, South Africa, Uganda. And for me, my turning point was when my dad died. That accelerated me to become such an entrepreneur, and I knew I had to survive. I had to live. And rejection. I came out of college at a time when there was a hiring freeze in 2004. I had to create an opportunity for myself. There was a hiring freeze at Smith Barney, but I created relationships with staff, such as receptionists, not being too proud, saying hello to somebody who eventually introduced me to the administrator, who introduced Smith Barney was part of Citigroup. who's like, you know what, can I introduce you to the head recruiter of Citigroup? I'm like, of course. Introduced me, and they asked me, are you open to any division of Citi? I said, yes, I am. I ended up being hired at a managerial level for Citibank, and I said I wanted to run a Citibank in the inner city, and that was Harlem. So those are some of the ways in which my path has been not linear, and it has been through twists and turns. But one thing for sure is that I know I've been very good at strategy and industry agnostic, and I have relied heavily on people who walk besides me or I walk besides to pull them up, because we cannot grow together. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far,
Further. Yeah.
go together.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of that. And I also say, create opportunities such as volunteerism. If you have no access, volunteer. Sometimes we have a thing of, are you getting paid? That's the first thing people say. Are you getting paid? What's in it? Look at where you're going. Don't always look about now. Sometimes that's what will create the difference between mediocrity and excellence.
Absolutely.
Do you realize by sometimes volunteering, you might meet the CEO of a major corporation who you'd never meet when you're employed as an employee? But when you share similar interests, they will pay attention to you, and rather they will become probably your sponsors or mentors. And those are the people who will take you to the next level.
Absolutely, and
So
we're
for
going to
me,
talk more about this. I want to pull Juliet in because there's so much that
yes.
we can say on this topic. But we really, I'm so honored to have all of you here. Really excited to meet you as well, Juliet. And you, like Madame Magdala, you've also been through. You survived the Civil War, and you've channeled the trauma into helping so many people through your craft and through your art and through your leadership. I'd love for you to also share, your turning point, as well as, your vision for women, women in leadership and women, in the new world, the way I think of it. When we are free and how we kind of liberate ourselves, we become free in the new world. And I'm curious to hear from you what your vision is for how women can shift us into a new reality.
Thank you, Olori. Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good evening from Nigeria. I'm sure it's afternoon over there. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here among great women. And Laurie, I just started. My journey is very, very new, but I am super excited. Things have been moving so good for me. I think what inspired or what made me to realize that I wanted to do this and this was my calling um, was when I sat back in 2019 um, when I launched my book. I launched my book and it's a memoir, and I had so many good reviews. Like people were wowed by what they read, and it made me realize that that I knew I wanted to be somebody great when I was a child. I knew I wanted to do more. I felt like I just wasn't meant to just sit in the house and just be a housewife, or get married. And I felt like I wanted to be more than I was at a very young age. And I was 8 years old when I experienced my very first civil war in Liberia, and I had to grow up quickly. I had to react quickly. I had to find out how to survive and be there for my siblings, the younger ones, because I'm the firstborn. And I saw how my parents struggled trying to, get us out of there, not even bothering about how they're going to get things. So, like the material things in the house, what's going to happen to the house. All they wanted was get us out of that place. And I went through that, lost a lot of like loved ones along the line, and I think all of that just made me grow up very fast because I had to listen to them when they talk. I was always eavesdropping, and I'll be experiencing these things, and I had no one to talk to because I was a very shy. So in my head, I would just build all these dreams what I wanted to become. Like I wanted to just be powerful and great. And at one point I thought it was about fame. I thought I wanted to be famous. It was 2019 that I realized that no, it's not about being famous. You wanted to be great. You wanted to be successful in whatever it is that was your calling. My dad left at a very early age. I was about 16, 17. He left. And that was like a huge responsibility put on my head again, where I had to be the father of the family. I had to be the husband of my mom. I had to be the one to comfort her because he just disappeared. And it made me so responsible that I had to start taking on a lot. And even before then, I remember when I was in refugee school in Ivory Coast, because I went to school as a refugee all those years when we escaped the war in Lebanon, Liberia, and Ivory Coast. I used to take like milk. We have this milk that is very sweet, condensed milk. I used to make candies out of those things, go and sell in school, get the money, and I would be paying classmates fees and little things they needed to buy books and stuff in school. And that's when I started realizing that I had to do more. Like I had that helping spirit in me, that I needed to be there for people. Like they were like teenage pregnancies at the time in the refugee school. I always wanted to help. I would go and tell my mom and dad that, oh, this girl got pregnant and I think we should help her and a baby. Her mom disowned her. And like I have always been like that. So when I realized this, I had to like dig deep within me and find out what is your calling. And that's when I met Mr. Camille. So funny enough, there are some very good men out there that are ready to support women and push women all the way to the top to find their potentials. And I must applaud those men. It's amazing when you meet those kind of people that want to see the very best for a woman or a girl child, without asking anything in return or trying to use you and stuff like that. And Mr. Camille helped me to connect with my inner self and understand what my greater calling was. And ever since I found it, I have been developing myself, finding the right resources, making the right connections with people like Lucy. Lucy has been amazing to me. Magdala is here and she's an amazing person. Mr. Debo as well. So I am on a mission to help the girl child in Africa and hopefully globally. And there's so many dreams and things I can share, but like this is just like a long story short for me.
So what is your vision? Thank you so much for sharing that, Juliet. But I want to hear from you and also our other panelists. What is your vision? And I'm going to wrap this into the question of how women lead differently from men. We've talked about how when you invest in a woman, you invest in a nation. What does it look like on the other side of this work that we're doing? What does it look like for us to have equality and to have women in leadership? Just share what your vision is for that other side.
Are you asking me first?
Yes, you, Juliet, first, and then we'll go to Madame Magdala.
Okay. So my vision for having women involved in equality all round will be, oh my God, it's going to be so amazing. Like, we want to be able to have a voice, we want to be able to not be judged because we make decisions. And oh, you're a lady. I'm going to give an example. Yesterday, I had a Zoom conference, and somebody had, out of everything we discussed, somebody had to tweet and attack me. And the person was like, yeah, that's what you single mothers do. When you can get married, then you turn to leadership and you turn to and deceiving the young girls. My vision is to have an equality in a sense that everybody understands that we can do whatever a man can do. We can be there. We can be those women that are leading, that are making a difference. We can be the mothers. We are nurturing by nature. So imagine you have female presidents, you have female leaders that are making a difference, that are in tune with their emotional side. At the same time, they are in tune with that side of the leaders in them. It makes the world a better place. And if only those people that don't want to give us a chance can see this, that we want to be included. We want an
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
world
Well,
where can live free. Women can be able to have a voice. Women can be able to make decisions. Women can be able to run for office. Women can be, without you judging that, oh, she's a lady, why should we give her a chance? That's my vision for that, especially for African women.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Julia. And I'll pass it to you, Madame Magdala. What is your vision for the other side of women's liberation, African women's liberation, the liberation of African people? What does that world look like?
Well, first of all, I think Black women should run the world. That's for sure.
Yes.
So we've been running the world. We got to continue running the world officially. Absolutely. We need to be in charge of every sector of society. But all jokes aside,
no, that's not a joke. Let's just take that to the bank.
It's gonna happen.
Walk away with that vision in their heads.
That's exactly right. That's right. We're gonna call it the women's world order.
That's
because
right.
When there's a woman in charge, there's order in place. And so on another note, I will say, instead of saying all jokes aside, on another note, women, my vision for women is to really see women at every decision-making table, whether it's from government, whether it's in corporations or in society at large. Women should have a seat. The way I see it, if there's 10 seats on the table, there should be 5 seats for women, and there should be 5 seats for men. And within each demographic, you split it up. You have the elders, the youth, the women, and the I guess the men in general, because there's a difference between the men and the elders. And so that's my vision. I want to see we as the citizens or citizens of each nation, or boards of each corporation, making it mandatory that these, like Juliet, said, and every other lady on the panel here have said or touched upon, it is not. I always say, let me say this first: nothing good happens organically, right? Sometimes you have to manipulate systems and processes in order to have an outcome, at least a suitable and desirable outcome. So since we know nothing good is going to happen organically within the women's liberation movement or the women in equality movement, we have got to compel systems to respect the laws. And if the laws are not there, we have to amend the laws of corporations, of governments, of nations, to make sure that these are put into place. So, for example, in Liberia, we currently have 11% female political representation. And what does that mean? Look at country like Rwanda. Rwanda has the highest in the entire world. There's 63% female representation in parliament.
Mm-hmm.
If you have Paul Kagame, who's called a dictator, have the medulla, the mindset to compel political party to change their laws and say, look, I gave you 2 years. 2 years. I want to see women when you're submitting lists of candidates. You must have women on your list of candidates. Now, let's take that same scenario to Liberia and why we have 9% female representation in our Congress or Parliament, however you call it, based on the country you live in. Because you have these male-dominated political parties, and the ruling establishment during the last midterm election had the audacity to submit a list of candidates to the election house with 15 men. There was 15 seats they were vying for. The ruling party submitted a list of 15 men for the 15 positions. And when we asked why, they said, well, women didn't come. There were no women now. Why the woman there? Maybe the woman I believe in said, no, it's mere idiocy. It's mere idiocy and wickedness on the part of Black African men to look at an entire country of 5 million people, yes, small country, to utter such words as African men, to say there are no suitable women in the country. That's why they give a list to the political house to say no woman in the country wants to run. No, so only men. Come on now, think about the medulla of those men. How do you look at strong, credible Black women and say there are no women in the entire country of 5 million people? So what we say, because nothing good happens organically, we have to push for laws and policies and reform constitutions. Like Liberia Constitution right now says, they refer to all citizens of the land as he. When he becomes senator, when he becomes president, when he becomes representative, I know I'm a strong woman. I can kick any man, but I don't want to be called a man. I want to be called a she. Respect my dignity, my rights, my constitutional rights. You know, I think sometimes these men will give them power, the power chakra they hate. Let me speak like a librarian now.
You're giving me so much life, Madam. Taking us to church today. But I want you to speak to how, you know, you really hit the nail on the head in terms of how the men lead and why it's problematic. And I want you to speak to how women lead differently. So Juliet referenced the idea that we are naturally nurturing. How else, you know, do women lead differently from men?
Well, I'm gonna just say this really quickly. When men lead, men style of leadership based on what we've experienced around the world, men will look at the demographic and see who they like, who they want to pull into their space. But versus a woman, when a woman leads, a woman look at a holistic approach of leadership. Well, a woman leads, she's concerned about not herself and those who like her or those who she likes. A woman leads thinking about the family, first of all. Like Julia said, when her father left, she stepped in as a leader and she took care of the family. A woman leads, a woman takes care of the nation. Every child born to that nation that she's leading, she thinks about the need of everyone, and whatever is left over, then she thinks about herself. And even if the resources are not ample or sufficient to take care of her own need, she forgets her need. Women lead with a different approach, with consideration of every person in the room, versus these men that lead and only wants to take care of those who they like, or those who like them, or those who make them feel good. And so when you're not part of the people that make them feel good, and their ego are not flustered or feathered by you, they omit you out of their decision making. And so for me, male leadership is not beneficial to all. And that's why I like that parable where it says, when you educate a girl child, you educate a nation. Because look at the situation of Madala Cooper or the Juliet or all of you that's on here. You're daughters of the soil of Africa. You gain whatever you gain. You went back home to share. These men go find a wife and they go say that with their wife and their own children. Julia, now you see you got me talking like some Nigerian girl. You need to stop it. Don't come on this show and be talking like this. But so you see, I would say this and turn the microphone back to you. I push for female leadership, whether it's in governance or in terms of nation, whether it's in corporation. Everyone benefits from a female leadership. Everyone, even those who don't like her. Because that's how the law is written. When you're a head of state, whether I voted for you or not, it is your duty and responsibility to make sure my constitutional rights are met. Whether I voted for you or not, whether you like me or not, whether I talk too much and you don't like to hear women talk, you don't like to hear women with an opinion, you still have the right to take care of my needs. So that's, to me, is I will always support women's leadership. Because there's peace in a nation when a woman leads. There's less corruption when a woman leads. The laws and the rules and regulations are followed. And everyone knows their place when a woman leads. So with that said, I will yield here and turn the microphone back to you.
Wow. What do you think, Farai? What is your vision? And how do women lead differently from men?
Thank you so much. Can we acknowledge Lourdes Fernandez,
Yes,
who just joined us as well from
welcome, Lourdes.
From Angola, yes.
Angola, yes. I just wanted to acknowledge her presence.
I am sorry to join later.
No problem.
It's my pleasure to be here with you.
No problem.
I read a lot about you all, and I'm impressed what you guys have achieved.
No problem.
And I would like to jump on the question you just mentioned.
I want to pull you into this question right after Farai, please.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I love how Madame Madala has framed the response to the question. I think someone earlier on, again, I can't remember who mentioned that we can do what men can do. And I often think, and it goes back to what Madame Madala mentioned about the Liberian constitution being framed around he. And it's almost like the men are the standard. And if we could change the I can do what men can do and think about it from the perspective of men or the world can do what women can do. You think about childbearing, you think about raising children. I think that really changes the way we then think about what can be done. And certainly, I do agree with the premise that women lead very, very differently. There's a thoughtfulness, there's a consideration and intentionality to the women, to the way women lead. And to her point about the parable, you teach a man to fish, and he will just feed himself. You teach a woman to fish, and she will literally feed a nation. I also think about if you want something to be talked about, you give it to a man, but you want something to be done, you give it to a woman, because women are not only leaders, but they also execute. I think Busi talked about how she went about with her career. You think about the way we execute, the way we get things done, and Busi, I appreciate you mentioning the fact that it's not only just having vertical relationships, but also very horizontal relationships where you're talking to a receptionist. And I think that's the Ubuntu in us, in particular with women, the way we approach. I think about Mom Winnie Mandela, and I wrote about her legacy for CNN. And I was talking about the fact that Mom Winnie Mandela had an open door policy as a leader. She always welcomed people into her Soweto home, always entertained them, because for her, what was important about her legacy was to pass on to the young women and to the young girls about how to run a nation, what it is to struggle for our people, and to ensure that not only did we have political freedom, but we also had economic freedom and also economic equity. So I think to your question about what type of vision do I have for women, I want to see our full expression. I don't want us to be pitted against men. We certainly need men. They are our counterparts. We need them in this journey. But I certainly want our own full expression and how we lead to be a standard. And then also women of color as well. We bring a different uniqueness to how we lead. We lead with this notion of Ubuntu, really taking into consideration the whole collective. Madala has been talking about elders, youth, and having women from people from a variety of backgrounds. Women of color tend to incorporate that because we have been so marginalized. Our voices tend not to be heard. It's a fight for us to be seen and to be heard. And so often when we're put in a place of leadership, we want to incorporate those that would be discounted. And so that's the vision that I think I have for us, really pulling from back and really doing the hard things. So not necessarily the easy things, but what are those hard things can we do? What's needful? And I think women are up to par for that. I mean, I don't have children yet, but I know childbirth is the most incredible experience, but it's also can be a very painful experience. And so if women can actually go through that process, then really what more can be difficult that we cannot actually confront and actually work through in leading our way into solutions.
Thank you so much, Farah. And I love that we're talking about childbirth. I'm a mother. Many of us on this call are mothers, and so many mothers have shared that giving birth made them feel like they could do anything. There's absolutely nothing they could not do. And I always say that women give life. We are the life givers, literally and figuratively. And so how can you compare what a man can do to what a woman can do? Thank you for that beautiful answer, Farai. So Lourdes, I want to pull you in here. I know that our time, if Debo and the team, if you can give us a time check, because I know we can go on forever. And I want to invite us to continue this conversation in our private community, which I'll share the link to shortly. But please, Lourdes, I'm so glad that you've joined us. And I want you to share a bit of your impetus. Everyone talked a bit about the impetus and the inspiration that really, kind of made them click and feel that, okay, I have to lead as a woman. and as well as your vision for the other side of women's liberation, African liberation.
Yes, I am glad, as I said, to be among very strong women with very strong statements. And when you were mentioning about the politician and the position in the political area, more than political, more than economic challenges, we African women, I think the best motivation we have is to work by causes. Because we have a cause, even though we impact everyone around us, when we create a business, for instance, people have the willing to call us mother, to think that we open the business and we are taking care of them like children. But more than that, we have a cause. And this is the thing that inspires me a lot, to see a woman have a cause of fight corruption or reduce poverty or reduce fame so we are doing elevate education or improve ethics. Every woman I see on the success in our continent, I always can see that they have a cause that drives them on everyday doing. And this is that the reason we are making a difference around the world by dealing with the many African diaspora or anywhere. You can see that on the workplace, the big challenge we make, because we have a cause on our, can be on agenda or country agenda or community agenda. And I can explain on my case. When I was working in oil and gas industry, I live in Portugal when I graduated. Then I went to Houston, where is the capital of oil and gas. And I understand from there two things very important. One is ethics and compliance. In the business, it's very important that you do the compliance and the good governance. We are talking about 2000. In 2000 was very hard to hear the compliance rules and all those corporate governance, but we are already 22 years from now, we were already discussing those impacts on the compliance in the business in Africa. And the, it became my cause. So I decided to put the word compliance everywhere I could go. If you find me any business of Lourdes, you're gonna find the word compliance over there, because compliance is not only conformity, it's not only that you need to do things on the compliance way, but it's justifying, is to prove evidences, is to show that we are not doing things on an ethical way for corruption. We are doing things to impact the future generation on the good way to do business or even to do politics. So, and on the other hand, that impacts and empower people, we are talking about local content. Local content is also a cause that motivates me and really put me on every day waking up saying what we are going to do for local content. Local content starts on education, starting from home, starting on empowering small and medium enterprises. So if you want to see me happy in any way, talk about local content and compliance. You're going to see me even now as a congresswoman is the same thing. When I see a law and we are enacting a law and we are starting doing something to impact the community, when we are fighting for parity, for equality, and on a gender, when we are talking about social development goals, I always think about compliance, how is going to impact on compliance. So for me, it's going to be a very good challenge for SAD or any of those organizations who organized debates like that among women, to understand which cause each of us have, what's the driven cause that motivate us waking up. And on a local content, I understand that we have to change our mindset. We needed to, and then I decided to create an acronym, affirm, to define the mindset that we have to create. So when I was creating the social entrepreneurship project in 2008, I said, okay, what we need to do, we need to have an attentive, firm, executor, respectful, motivator, and exemplar mindset. So if we create this affirm mindset, wherever we go in the world, we can pay attention to details. We can be firm on our compliance and the rules to work under. And then we can also create
Let's send some juice to Lourdes' internet connection so we can get the rest of that. Can you still hear us, Lourdes?
I think she's frozen. Yeah, she's frozen. Oh,
which
she's
is
back.
exemplarity. I lost you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I could not see you. So this mindset helps me driving books, writing articles, writing books, because I know if we create this new mindset, it's gonna help us be more competitive and with a better energy to help the future generations. This is what I
Wow.
would like to say to
Wow.
start.
Profound.
Wow. Yes, 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 to the new mindset.
Yes.
There's so much that we can talk about, and I'm so grateful that each of you have shared your vision and and what you are most passionate about, sort of impacting in this world. And I pray that anyone that's watching, that's listening today, is inspired and motivated to take action, and to really shift their mindset. And so as I pull in Bootsy to answer this last question, and I'm going to open it up to everybody. I'm going to just share a few questions. So we've been talking about vision. We've been talking about how women lead differently from men. So I want you to chime in on that, Lucy. But I also think it's very important as we round up to call the names of the women who came before us, call the names of the women who have made it possible for us to be where we are today, to really celebrate and acknowledge them. We've talked about Winnie Mandela. I like to throw in Miriam Makeba. I have to throw in my ancestors, all the women of the Ankishemoyin and the Duvotimi Eti bloodlines and the Bidipote bloodlines. But please, Busi, talk to us about your vision, about how women lead differently from men, and about the women who came before you that inspired you, and who paved the way for you as well.
Farai gave me goosebumps when she mentioned Mama Winnie Mandela, because my mom was close to Mama Winnie Mandela. They grew up on the same street or so, and she said Mama Winnie Mandela took her she was like a big sister, like an aunt, and she would let them do. She liked my mom's scarves, and she'd ask my mom to wrap her scarves. And I just heard this story this year. Can you imagine? And now Farai is talking about it. It tells me there's something that's going on. I went to Essex County College about a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't realize I was at the Africana Center in 15 years uh, before. It's 15 years back, and now I came back, and then the director was mentioning that I came full circle. So I was just like, you know what? There's something that's happening. Lola, you don't remember one time it was a march in Harlem around 2007, and I had founded Fashion India. I was mainstream that time. Then you told me, what are you doing for Africans? You put me on the spot. I went mainstream because when I tried it, people were laughing at me. Are you a model? Are you a designer? Are you this? And I said, no, I'm in the business of fashion. I'm trying to bring awareness to indie designers. But I listened to what you were saying, not to forget where I came from and my people. So that goes back to remembering who we are and giving back. For me, I've always said I've been about transforming the lives of Africans in African the diaspora, even though I have friends who are from other races as well.
Mhm.
But what I've learned is not to the diasporan challenge is different from the African challenge, and we have to be aware of that. Not to be, I call them I've been to America, and then or been to Europe, and then you impose your ideologies on them, right? However, if you listen, how about we open the open communication lines? You know, build trust. Then So give and take, and we'll create solutions. So my vision is an African diaspora that works together, that builds upon our strengths as people from both places. And for me, my vision as well, I'm a board member of a college which is 90 years old, a business college, the first African American or Black woman on that board. We're only two women board members. And I'm seeing how I'm grateful that the men on the board, I mean, they're older, but they're listening.
Yeah.
So what that means is we need more of us at the table
Right.
to make policy.
Yeah.
Once we make policy, it will go down, it will filter down. So, and then as Farai also said, I mean, we agree on this, lateral growth,
Yeah.
not only horizontal. For me, I'm big
Vertical.
on that because even a cleaner could open a door for you. They're the ears to the door sometimes. And I'm going to wrap up with saying this: still have the audacity to dream, even when no one believes in what you're doing. And let's find people we can grow with, because when things get tough, it's those people you can count on. So identify those like-minded people who you can grow beside, and they can grow beside you as we continue to grow. And I mean, I'm just excited about this panel and what this is going to turn into. I am excited, and we have to keep doing this repeatedly and continue to excel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that powerful message, Lucy. And you touched on, my key sort of last answer. I talked about, highlighting the women that came before us, or my last question. I want to make sure that we leave here with action steps. I was saying to people just a few days ago, and every time I'm asked to do a panel or host a panel, I say, what is next? What happens after the conversation? How do we tangentize these conversations, concretize these thoughts into actions that we can take together, so that as we build power, so that as each of us in our respective lanes is building power, now we have 5, 6 women who have come together and can somehow activate growth together. So I want to ask you to share, one action that you would like to see possibly each of us here on the panel take, one action that you would like to see people who are
May I?
one thing you can do.
Give access to one woman.
Give access to one woman. Beautiful.
Or more.
What one thing can we do? Can we take from here to make sure that this is not just words that land on the ether, but that we make something tangible come from this conversation? And I'd like to pull you back inward because I know we lost you for a bit. So if you want to finish what you were saying and then speak to this as we round up, I would really appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah, I am sorry about my internet.
That's okay.
I remember the time I was with Shimamanda in a gathering project, and Shimamanda said, the challenge we have in our continent is internet. So more and more I believe that Shimamanda is so right. Anyway, so I'm sorry about my internet, and I'm backing from office to home. So it's a quite long drive, but I could not miss the session. I think the next what we need to do, whenever I'm meeting amazing women like you, is to keep connections, is to keep in contact. It's to ask the organizations if they can connect us tomorrow, and what we are doing here we can amplify, because people who are watching us, we are creating them expectations, because on every day, every action we do, we create expectations. And it cannot be just those 6 women from different African countries. They meet each other, and the next day we are not connecting and implementing something that can make Africa better, a better continent for tomorrow. The amazing backgrounds I am hearing from you. You may want to know more about Angola. I may want to know more about what you guys are doing. So it is an expectation we create even for ourselves. So I think what we need to do for to move forward is to connect each other and select which goals we are doing, what we can do together to with a project and make things happen. Because we always hear that women can change the nation. We always hear if you want to have something done, ask women. We always hear that we are more than men regarding percentages in the continent, but we needed to do more. We
I
are doing
want
a lot, but we need to do much, much more together, because working together works.
Absolutely.
So I just want to quickly. I know. Alola Day, you are running against time, so I want to be very, very focused with my response to your question about making this more than just a talk shop, but something that has more tangible and action steps out of this. I love what Wusi said about giving access to one woman, and then Lourdes mentions identifying a cause that we can rally around. And I'm thinking board representation of women is very, very critical. So really marrying the two, where we can identify boards and make sure that we are putting people, women of color, in those positions. And in terms of rallying around someone as a cause, I mean, it was right here on our panel. Madala Cooper, I believe, is running. So we're able to then, as all of us and the broader audience that's watching and listening in, perhaps if we are given an opportunity to understand how we can contribute to her campaign, whether financially or even participating as volunteers, I think would be really wonderful in maybe identifying that cause and saying, okay, this is our candidate and we will be rallying around her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Farai. And are there any women that you would like to shout out as women who came before you and opened the path for you?
For me, particularly, there are women that I would definitely love to give a shout out to. I mean, I think first and foremost is my mother, who has been very foundational to my success, and my closer grandmother, Wusi. So I love the fact that you talked about your mom and her relationship with Mom Winnie Mandela. It's always such a treat to hear the impact that Mom Mandela had. But so my mother, for sure, my grandmother, closer woman, these are really tour de forces. My younger sister in Canada, and my niece, Mackenzie, who's 10 years old and who wants to be a surgeon. Can you believe? So she inspires me with her focus. She's working on writing her book at 10 years old. I'm super inspired by Mackenzie Nunleba, who's very, very, very intentional at such a young age. I also want to mention Mam Fodoruncho Alakija of Nigeria, who I have such a close relationship with, and I spoke with her about a week or two ago, and again, really inspired by her faith walk. And so she really grounds me in that, even though you can be so ambitious, and we are very ambitious women, that that faith is really, you have to be grounded in faith, and you've got to operate within the principles and the tenets of faith. And so these are women that really are very near and dear to my heart. And then all the African women and all the African girls, I really have to shout you guys out, that despite the obstacles and the challenges that we all face, Ludas, I guess I apologize for mispronouncing your name, but you are in Angola and you're having internet problems. But for you, it was important to show up and to show out on behalf of Angola. So really, to all the girls and all the women on the continent, I really, 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 really honor you. I really see you, I really hear you, and I'm really, truly inspired by you. And I'll close off on an expression that I like to share, which is where I enter, my people enter with me. And so even in boardrooms, even in this panel, even at Harvard, as a young global leader with the World Economic Forum, even as a CFO for my company, I understand that I'm entering because I'm standing on shoulders of giants, one, but two, because my people are entering with me because they've informed me in so many ways. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. I just want to say the women who have inspired me. I mean, my daughters. I'm a mother of 3 girls. So they challenge me, and I know they have different strengths and they bring different things to the table. And I also want to give a shout out to men who are allies of women. and encourage women to thrive. And of course, mothers, aunts, and great women like you who have challenged me to become the better version of myself. I feel there's something that's brewing and we just have to run with it. I saw a quote which said, um, you know what, it's better to light a single candle than to curse the darkness. So every little thing counts.
Wow. And on that note, when we talk about men who support women, we do have to shout out Debo, founder of SAID, who brought this panel together and started this Women in the Workplace series, because yes, Debo has definitely...
And also a significant supporter is Mr. Baloy of Brand South Africa. He also needs our mention because Debo for certain is a visionary, but you also have to have the financial resources and someone to believe in your vision. So South Africa really stands at the forefront of understanding the importance of women in the workplace. So really shout out to Mr. Baloy as a man who understands the role that women play in the workplace.
The other thing I would like to mention, and I heard about Global Shapers. One of the best things that happened in my life since 2012 is to be a member of World Economic Forum Africa. Since I joined World Economic Forum Africa, I'm telling you, I saw Africa in different way. I don't know how they select people. I don't know what.
So are you a young global leader or are you a global shaper? So I'm a young global leader with the World Economic Forum, which the process to select YGLs is much different. It's vigorous, and you never know, right?
So
Lourdes, I was asking you, are you a young global shaper or are you a young global?
No, I'm not a guest. I am a guest of all those. I'm not a young global shaper, unfortunately, because I didn't have time. I was so busy. I just arrived home, but I cannot. I'm here downstairs talking to you because we are finishing.
Okay, so the young global leader is very different from the young global shaper. So I am a young global leader. I've represented Zimbabwe. The process to be a young global leader is much more rigorous, right? And is quite different from the young global shapers. But
I'm not a global leader. Global shaper I can because I'm older than 40. So even it's a process that Elsie Kansas was asking me if I want, but my problem is really time.
Yeah.
So I am very busy more now on Parliament, but I would like to challenge you to help me on a convention concerning elimination of violence and harassment in the world of work adoption. I was preparing this conversation with you, and I just find this convention is quite new, and it's 2019 that was put out, but it's a convention that needs voice. I called Geneva, and they said, Lourdes, we need women to talk about violence and harassment on the workplace. So I think could be a joint cause. I would like to suggest if we can talk more about this convention. I have the document here with me. So Angola has not ratified yet. South Africa has ratified. Namibia has ratified. So not too many African countries have ratified this convention. My experience is we need now to go more causes with the document, like causes that are convention signed in the UN and in the big organizations, multilateral organizations. If we African women start standing up with those strategies of not only working in an individual or country causes, but working in the causes that work for multilateral interests, like this convention about violence and harassment in the workplace. We can see our objectives with the greater impact. That's my suggestion. If we can start joining those international organizations and present what we think about it.
That sounds amazing. Can you put that information in the group chat, Lourdes, or maybe reply to the email thread so that all of us have information on how we can support that convention? but I definitely encourage all of us to sign on as we close out. I'm going to give Juliet the last word to share with us, you know, the women who have been an inspiration to you, whose names you want to call out.
I'm sorry. I have not mentioned who is the woman inspiring me. Sorry for my last. I have my mother and my three goals. It's why I was screaming when what mentioned that she has three goals. So I live for those four person in my life. My mother is now 85. She's so active. She has an orphanage place with around 20 more girls. So she doesn't stop. She wants to help all the women. She wants to educate, and she had 9 kids. Now we are only 5, and my three goals. My first goal is 25. My second is 22 in September. Will be 22 in September, and the third will be 15 in December. So, I am a mother of a beautiful goals. Just imagine 26, 21, and the 14. So they inspire me every day. It's every day when I start praying. I said, my God, the blessing I have is to have only girls. I respect the mother of boys, but being a mother of girls, you do not understand, ladies, how blessed it is. So I would like to congratulate all the mothers of girls. Mother of boys, I love you, but mother of girls, we understand the world, and we understand how the world can be better tomorrow for our grandchildren.
You're
We
so right.
understand already how we can make an Africa the best continent in the world. We just need more opportunities for women. Thank you.
You are so correct. And as a mother of you know, my daughter that I've birthed and my daughter that I've adopted recently, I can very, very much relate to that. You know, our girls, ultimately our children are our greatest inspiration, because it is for them that we do this work to make this world a better place for them to live in. So thank you so much, Lourdes. And Juliet, I pass the mic to you to please share with us those who inspire you. You're muted, just so you know. Those who inspire you, one action that you would like to see all of us take from this conversation to really tangentize and concretize the words that we're speaking today.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Actually, I would like to say my mother first. I know we've all said it. My mother has been one great source of inspiration to me all these years. She's a rebel. She fought hard to make sure her girls stayed alive during the wars, and she's still fighting hard, you know. And my two sisters, who have been very supportive, and when I'm not there, I have a son, and when I'm not there, they are there for him. They are there to, they understand that I need to be out there working. They understand I have to be on the road. So these people have been very supportive. And I would also like to say that just by being and living in Africa, the regular day-to-day women I see on the street, the women that would have their kids on their back and they're in the hot sun working, trying to just make ends meet to feed their kids. Those women are the ones that I look up to. Like I see it and I see the zeal. I see that they want things to be better for them. So I feel like they deserve leaders like us that understand their plight, that understand what they go through and how we need to make things better for them. Those women are the one I'll actually say that inspire me every single day. And to every amazing woman that has touched my life, that I've come in contact with, and to all of you here that I'm going to connect with and, going to push me further in whatever it is that I have set out to do, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Juliet. And yes, I must also shout out my mother, my sisters, and all the women who have touched and love and support. Yes, we do rule the world. I believe that women already rule the world indirectly, and it is just for us to take that position and take that power and be at the forefront to really bring forth a new way of being where 50% is almost not enough, but we'll start with that. Thank you, Debo. Thank you, Munwanzi. Thank you, Brand South Africa, and all who have joined us today for this lovely conversation. And we hope that we can keep the conversation going and to really great action from these talks. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful job moderating, Lola.
Very good job.
I appreciate it.
Thank you to each and every one. I just don't know how to say it, but thank you for your insight, for your knowledge, for your taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us, and also to help us in our work that we do. So this is very important. I mean, for us as SAID Institute, and also for Brand South Africa as well. I believe these are the kind of things that we want to see for the future of Africa, for the future of the continent, and also, the future of global world, the entire global world. We want to see the future of, equality, 50-50, 50% of women in leadership, 50% of men in leadership. We want to see a future where, women are leading nations. We want to see a future where Congresswoman Lordis is leading Liberia, is leading Angola, not only Angola, but leading the global world. Also, the future of, Madala Cooper coming back and just getting into that seat as the president of Liberia. We want to see those kind of future. A future where Busi or Farai can lead, Fortune 500 and just be at the top of the ladder in their industry. A future where people can see, Juliet Ibrahim as one of the high-ranking, producer and director, well-paid in the global world, where people can say, hey, I want to be like her. I want to sit on that chair, on that directorial chair, and just direct not only Bollywood or Nollywood, but a global theme. A future where Lola Day can lead, not only a startup company, but a Silicon Valley high-end company where people can see women at the top and say, hey, I want to be like Lola Day. She started from here and she's there now. So those are the kind of future that we want to see, access to equal opportunity wherever you are. You might be on the continent, you might be in the diaspora, but equal opportunity. And this is just the pathway. This might not happen in our generation, but like Busi said, you have 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters as well. Maybe in their generation, we'll have more women leading. Women are working already. 55%, 60% of women are already working, but we want to see them at the top, not just working, but how do we advance, their work? How do we advance them not to carry fear or baggage or discrimination to that stop them from getting to where they need to get to. So for us, women should be a role model to each and everyone. We want to see an organization, even said, we want women to lead. We want where we will see men following women who are leaders and say, hey, this is the kind of organization that we run, that women are leading, like Madala said, when and the statistics is out there, interview and articles, like when women lead, things get better. People like first president of Liberia, Joyce Banda of Malawi. The story of Kunzinga from Angola. Moremi, and also what's happening in the States as well with the Kanteji. Is it Kanteji or Brown Jackson? Those are the kind of things we want to see. We want to see women in leadership that will change. So for us, there are 2 things that matter after this conversation. We still want to engage in those leaders that are shaping the future of Africa. We still want to engage and address, all these issues that are stopping women to get to the top, because we know they are working. But how do we amplify their voice, and how do we step into that role to kind of, push them in a way that we can say, hey, men are here. The men that are supporting women are here. So thank you all. Thank you. I can't thank you all enough, but hopefully my thank you will go beyond this, and we can make tangible change, and just something happen. We're building a report, like I said. Hopefully, we're able to give you something that is tangible out of this. So it's a 1-year thing that we're running onto this part. So thank you for joining us. It is my distinct honor to just bring Muduanzi Baloyi, Executive Director for Brand South Africa, to give us a closing remark. Then we Muduanzi Baloyi, take us home.
No, thank you very much, Debo. And listening to you speak and some of our politicians in the panel, I felt like men are becoming an endangered species. But indeed, thank you very much, folks, for your kind words as well. This has been a truly and fascinating, thought-provoking conversation, and I must confess that I learn every day, and I learned a lot throughout. The vision that I spoke about at the beginning of the session, that of South Africa being a nation that our people and the world will draw inspiration from, that inspiration to find new paths, new solutions, new possibilities, new experiences, new ideas, and the will to make it happen. I think today we really achieved that, and I'm very grateful to the panel. And for also coming up with practical suggestions on how to move the needle forward and change the landscape. And I also want to thank you all for continuing to fly the African flag in the diaspora. We are really very proud of you. Let me also thank the audience for joining us today. We really value their support and smart contribution all the time. And indeed, to the panel, once more, thank you very much for taking time to share your expertise and time with us. You really shared a truly exciting perspective on this timely topic, to a point where I feel threatened. But it all goes on to probably prove a point that indeed women are equally capable to be leaders of today. It is not just men alone, and indeed we need to create an environment where such a possibility becomes practical in our day-to-day living. So for those who are also looking for a conversation, this conversation has been playing live on Facebook and YouTube, and the recording will also be available on Brand South Africa's website and that of Said. And I would like to also encourage you to follow us as Brand South Africa and also as Said for some of the dialogues that we're planning to have in the near future during this year. I would like to also wish you well, to say stay safe and be well, and have a restful Easter that is coming up very soon. And for those of you who do pray, may you please also pray for peace in those conflict-ridden situations, as well as places where there's war going on. Let's pray for global peace at the same time. And may God indeed bless our own nations and the republics where we find ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Baloyi, I was going to say you're a Xhosa man, so you'll be fine. There's no extinction of men. You're a Xhosa. You come from a line of indomitable people.
Mr. Baloyi, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my sister.
Everybody, amazing.
I would like to Brand South Africa to help our country to know how to Africa. Thank you what you've been doing.
I follow Brand South Africa. It's an amazing institution. Thank you what you've been doing.
No, thank
And
you
we're
so
here
much.
to support you.
Yeah.
And we're here
Yeah.
to support you.
No, thank you very much.
So thank you so much. You can stay on. We're just wrapping up, but you can stay on the backstage if you want to chat. But we're gonna take calls off streaming, and if you just want to stay in the back, you can stay in the back. But thank you everyone. Thank you Busi, thank you Farai, thank you Lolade, thank you Juliet, Lodis, thank you. Magdala is hopefully she will join us at the backstage. But thank you for each and every one. All we want to say from SAID and from Brand South Africa, we just want to say thank you. Each one give voice to one. Each one help one woman get a seat at the table, not just a seat at the table, but invite other people, other women to join at the table. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Working together works.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.